Hello DesignTV, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Elissa Black, Executive Director of NYCxDESIGN, a non-profit committed to empowering, supporting and growing this city's incredible design sector. I'm joining you today in celebration of our internationally renowned annual design festival, which is taking place right now through November 18. This festival really celebrates the immense creativity and diversity of New York City's design community, with hundreds of events celebrating design innovation, resilience, creativity, sustainability, and much more. Be sure to check out our festival website at festival.nyxdesign.org so you can be a part of New York City's official celebration of design. And while you're at it, please do mark your calendars for the return of our 10th anniversary festival next year, running from May 10 to 20 in 2022. We hope to see you there. This week during the festival, we're taking over DesignTV by SANDOW to spotlight New York City's thriving design sector through a series of fascinating videos and conversations with local design leaders. So without further ado, please do sit back and enjoy this fascinating exploration of design in New York City's 5 boroughs.
Hi everyone, I'm Valerie Hoffman, Program Director for NYCxDESIGN. In May 2021, we introduced Self-Guided Journeys, an immersive online platform touring some of New York City's most vibrant design districts, uncovering the engine of creativity in every borough. From hidden design gems to creative studios, cultural centers, talented local design studios, and one-of-a-kind architectural feats, you can visit Soho and Tribeca, Southwest Brooklyn, Long Island City, St. George, and the South Bronx at any time. We want to take you to some of these neighborhoods with us today. Before we dive in, here's a warm welcome to NYC from some designers that represent the collective power of our expansive creative community.
The activity of other creative people like doing their thing and trying to like make it happen, like that's home for me.
We made it our duty to represent our people the right way.
It's really about the diversity, it's really about the layers of history.
I really appreciate this location, so many different cultures and so many different backgrounds.
It's a really wide open, wacky range of individuals.
There's such a cross-section of artists and designers and performers.
It's hard not to be inspired by the architecture you're given as the basis of a lot of your design. Amazingly interesting New York bones that only could happen in New York.
Design in New York City in one word: persistent.
Vibrant.
Forward.
Eclectic.
Fearless.
Imagination.
Bold.
Cutting edge.
Exciting.
Fascinating.
Progressive.
Matrix.
Stimulating. Resilient.
True.
It's what it is. It is only in New York City, so you already know. Real.
Now, let's begin our journey as we venture to the waterfront neighborhood of St. George in Staten Island. Situated in the North Shore of Staten Island and easily accessed from downtown Manhattan by the Staten Island Ferry, St. George is an urban getaway. The neighborhood is home to some of the borough's most interesting cultural institutions and hidden gems. Today, we'll dive in to explore some of the area's design destinations, starting with Alice Austin House, a vibrant and historic cultural center. Then we'll explore Snog Harbor's Regional Arts Center, Botanical Gardens, and Public Park, followed by Maker Park, a 27,000 square foot outdoor community space that hosts a variety of workshops. Then we'll head to Postcards, a stunning September 11th memorial that features 2 fiberglass structures resembling postcards. Welcome to St. George.
We actually do have a diverse, interesting, fascinating history on the island.
The museum itself now is a living, breathing photographic museum. And I think what we're really interested in here is exploring now where we can work with designers and artists and scholars and historians to really interpret the spaces that are all around the house.
got on that big orange boat, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. I've had folks from the neighborhood who were walking by just kind of be like, hey, thanks for doing the park. We're firm believers in STEAM education. If you have a scientist or an engineer who can think creatively, they're going to solve problems better.
One word that would describe the St. George artistic community would be inclusive.
Unique.
Evolving.
My name's Victoria Munro, and I'm the Executive Director of the Alice Austen House here on the North Shore of Staten Island. The Alice Austen House was originally a two-room Dutch farmhouse that was built in 1690. Alice Austen moved in here when she was very young. It was bought by her grandfather in 1844. He transformed the farmhouse into the Victorian Gothic cottage that you see behind me today. She was one of the first female photographers to work outside of the studio. So she would transport up to 50 pounds of photographic equipment on her bicycle and take to the streets of Manhattan and document immigrants at work, and also the world of her travels. She lost all of her money in 1930, struggled to stay here with her partner Gertrude Tate until 1945 when they were evicted. At that point, the house changed hands a few times, but it was in pretty bad disrepair, and it was then slated to be demolished to build a high-rise complex because, of course, we have incredible views of Brooklyn, Manhattan, and New Jersey. Concerned citizens got together, the Friends of Alice Austen was formed, and they managed to landmark the property and save the house. It underwent a huge renovation in the early 80s, and we opened our doors as a museum in 1985. She's obviously the most notable resident. She left us a legacy of around about 8,000 photographs of a changing New York City. This home was one of Alice's muses. So she photographed it over the course of 60 years. We had all of that really, really essential material, right down to being able to recreate the little birdhouses that her grandfather put. And I think what we're really interested in here is exploring now where we can work with designers and artists and scholars and historians to really interpret the spaces that are all around the house, not just focus on the house itself, because the grounds are so important too. What we're really lucky to have as well is her personal collection of photographs where she documented women and her friends, lesbian circles. So it's a really, really important collection for LGBTQ history. The museum itself now is a living, breathing photographic museum. So we're dedicated to the truthful storytelling of Alice's life and work, but we also have 2 contemporary galleries. So we're a platform for photographers, both on Staten Island and internationally and nationally.
Hi, my name is Puyan Taglianetti. I'm the Visitor Services and Education Coordinator here at Snug Harbor Cultural Center and Botanical Gardens. We're an 83-acre campus that has everything from a heritage farm to Staten Island Museum to the Staten Island Children's Museum. And in fact, right now we're standing in our New York Chinese Scholars Garden. Here in our New York Chinese Scholars Garden, it's a place for you to relax, to unwind from your daily stress. And it's modeled after mainly the Ming Dynasty. And so back then you would have had scholars who would have had these on their grounds. Within their Scholars Garden, they had different architectural elements in it that are symbolic of what you would want to have for yourself. And everything from, like, you can see the rocks that are around me here, and these are symbolic of like the bones, the foundation of your garden, or like the bones of your body. And then we have the 3 ponds, and the waterways are representative of like the life system, or your arteries that we have. We have the contrast of the light and the dark colors, the deciduous plants versus the evergreen plants. And you're showing how things that are so opposite in nature can work together beautifully in harmony. As you're walking through the garden, you'll see that we have the different elevations, the path will go zigzagging, you may see that the flooring will change, and all of this has both a folklore history to it in addition to an architectural history. So from folklore, it said that like evil spirits or bad luck can only go on a flat, straight pathway. But good luck, you would want to be able to go back and forth, you'd want to be able to walk up and down. But if you look at it from an architectural standpoint, if you're on a straight path, you're not really paying attention to whatever's around you. And if you are forced to slow down because you're going up and down a pathway, or you have to turn left and right and you have to pay attention, you're more likely to take in what's around you and then have more appreciation for that. And this is very relevant to today's day and age, because how many times are we just so focused on where we want to go or who's on technology that we don't slow down. We don't really pay attention to what's around us. We're not engaged in such a sense of mindfulness to have that appreciation and to really take in how we are a part of nature and whatever's around us. A lot of people, as soon as they step into the garden, they're immediately like, they feel at peace, they feel like they've stepped out of New York City. And in fact, we often get visitors or tourists from China who come here to see the garden, because there's only a handful of them that you can visit there. And they're often very crowded places, so you don't really get to take in the garden as it's meant to be. Not only is it a new experience for a lot of people, but it's also a place where people can come together and you can have these deep discussions, and you can engage in the practices that were from like the 1700s that are still relevant to today. I feel like we're so instrumental in creating that community, welcoming, inclusive space here in the Scholars Garden.
My name is Scott Van Kampen, and we are at Maker Park. Maker Park is a 27,000 square foot outdoor space for the community where we have art and events and music. We opened 1 year to the day after Hurricane Sandy. This piece of property that we were on had 18 or 19 vehicles that were abandoned, that had been flooded or had been on fire. I called up my contact at the city and said, hey, you know, it's really unfortunate that this is the first and last thing that people see of a city-sponsored business incubator in Staten Island. I said, give it to me, rent it to me, lease it to me, sell it to me, whatever, but let me clean it up. I've had folks from the neighborhood who were walking by just kind of be like, hey, thanks for doing the park. You know, I remember when it was a dump. On top of the container in the middle there, that was some members that were here. They're actually jewelry designers, but thought it'd be fun to do an outdoor piece. So they did this reclaimed glass from the seashore. We've got this beautiful overgrown large arrowhead from Deb Woodbridge. So that's my wind harp, and that's a piece of art that is wind driven, and it only makes noise when the wind hits the strings just right. I was dead set against moving to Staten Island. We lived in Brooklyn, we lived in Williamsburg in the late 90s, then we had a kid on the way. We started looking for a house. My wife says, we should look at Staten Island. I got on that big orange boat and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. It's a really wide open, wacky range of individuals, wonderful musicians. Makerspace is a community-based collaborative workshop. We have 2 locations in New York City. We have laser cutters and 3D printers, as well as industrial tools, wood shop, metal shop, CNC router. We have a ceramic studio and studio spaces for folks. We actually run an artist residency program to individuals who want to put up a project and an outdoor public work for a year. So they come in, they have access to the fabrication facility and studio space, then we help them install it out here. I think we can see the impact that we've made on the community. We've taught tens of thousands of kids. We do all these school programs and all these hands-on things, and we've been doing this long enough that as they grow older, you kind of hear through the grapevines, oh, you know, so-and-so took that class with you guys and opened it up, and he's super excited and doing this and doing that. And we have kids that literally like are winning awards. You know, there's all this talk in STEM education. We're firm believers in STEAM education. If you have a scientist or an engineer who can think creatively, they're going to solve problems better.
Thank you for joining us today on a design-filled journey through St. George. Visit NYCxDESIGN.org to explore the complete self-guided journeys platform, and visit festival.nycxdesign.org to explore all the events taking place now across the 5 boroughs. And a big thank you to our partners, sponsors, event organizers, and attendees for making this edition of the festival a success.
I was not such a good designer or a good illustrator, but I always knew exactly what would happen in fashion. And we would go to Paris, to Saint Laurent, and I would already have the code which was on the runway. So that has always been the case, and this is where they discovered that I had that nose. And so they started to develop a curriculum especially for me to train me in that sense. Our trends are not about gadgets or fancy moments. They are really about very long rolling sort of movements of society.
Please join me and give a very warm welcome to Cindy and Lee.
The circle has so much positive value, so incredible deep relations to our psyche, to the planet, to everything in our systems.
Lee is an educator. She characterizes herself, I think the term is trend forecaster. It's a hell of a lot of work, a lot of study, ear to the ground, talking to people, analysis. I mean, she's a student of human behavior, which allows her to say, this is where I think we want to go. And then she actually takes responsibility for taking us there.
I was born in Wageningen, which is a small medieval town in the Netherlands. Because I was born in 50 and there was nothing. So I used cardboard and I just created all sorts of objects and a music player and records, and I would hear music, and everything was in my brain. So even today, I think this is the background of the way I work. In Trend Union, we publish portfolios with ideas. There is a color card. Then there is a general trend book, which is the big sort of textile book, which is the Bible of the season, which has all the secrets and all the details and so on. Then there is a book on menswear, and then we do once a year a book on interior and design. The color card in the end will be presented like this. It has, all the dyed colors in color ranges.
That's so beautiful.
Now I'm studying the new ones, which are for autumn-winter 2020.
Oh, wow.
I called it Indian summer, like India. So this is the strange colors between sort of old rose and brick.
These
are very strange
colors.
Hare Krishna.
He's amazing.
So you could just imagine how you can make knitwear and,
The world of Edelkoort, right?
Yeah.
Early on, where were you gravitating towards? Was it primarily fashion then?
It was really fashion. I was really educated in fashion, and this was my thing. And design became a second very big obsession when the Design Academy asked me to be head of a department of design.
At Eindhoven?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I spent for 10 years, 1 week a month in Eindhoven. It was an explosion of creativity.
She asked questions, she challenged. Lee liked the mess. The values that were emerging, the humanity, let's say, that was brought back to craftsmanship, to the human hand. She argued that we're talking about seeing a designer's mind converting something, taking it to the next level based on where we are in the world today.
But you actually do work with big companies.
Yeah, they ask, very brave for them to ask me, very brave for me to go in front of the lions. The car I made with Nissan, I don't even have a license. And they said, that doesn't matter. We know how to design a car, but we want to know what is the context and how are people going to live and what is the situation. It looked weird in those days, but got all the prices a car can get in 1993. And then all the other cars were designed in that manner. Even also when I work on curriculums and on designing schools, it's always within mind what will happen.
As you said, it's only a year old that there's this
Yes.
maker studio.
There is a real interest from students more and more into making. And it's funny because 10 years ago, all schools wanted to get rid of all making material. And now there is this backlash from the student zone, from the art, from the architecture, from the design, from fashion, to say, I want to make stuff, I want to have tactility, and I want to make textile.
Yes. That is fantastic.
The youngest generation are completely in favor of a better world. Working together, working in teams, no longer ownership. It's a new breed. We are going to a new future, but maybe it's a new system. Textiles are going to make an enormous comeback. And in the end, maybe we will see that the 21st century is the century of textiles.
Are you optimistic about the future?
It's very hard to say, because I'm going to write a trend forecast for 2050. But the next step is more difficult, because we have such conflicting mentalities, politics, economics, and so on, that it's almost that you have to predict who is going to win the fight.
Who's going to win? Lee, help us.
I think us.
Yeah.
I think us, but it will be a narrow escape. It will be a narrow escape. But in the end, I think with this young generation, we are going to choose humanity.
We're curious about new directions, new possibilities, new social organizations, different ways to aggregate materials, etc. And so as a result, we're always looking for the curiosity and the pleasure of invention.
I'd love to try to get to the heart of, there's 3 of you. 2 are twins. How does that work?
Well, the question is, who's going to start first? The nature of our practice is always in one foregrounding, what are the rules? What are the expectations? If you can frame the project, you can frame the practice in a way that's declarative, then you're in a much better position to be able to produce a collaborative endeavor so that the best idea can win.
David, what was it like growing up?
We grew up in a kind of an interesting household. Building, drawing, making, really having to make your way in the world. So the assumption was that you would look at the world around you and create it.
And Mark, were you a rambunctious creative kid?
I don't think I was ever rambunctious. But I think from a very early age, I was kind of usually sitting somewhere with a pad of paper, sketching and drawing. That, I think, obsession with drawing has remained really as part of the kind of DNA of the firm. Paul and I met in graduate school at Princeton, and I graduated a year earlier because I was smarter. But yeah, and then David ended up arriving at Princeton pretty much on Paul's heels.
But then you all ended up getting together, right?
We had basically convinced Storefront that we had this body of work, which we didn't actually have, right? So
the age-old story.
So
no,
we
conceptualized it.
We knew that it was possible, so burdened by our own hubris, and we had to then actually produce effectively 6 or 8 thesis projects in the course of 6 months. But that
How
was
did
really,
that turn out?
Oh, it turned out well.
The first series of our built projects were small-scale restaurants, and in each of those, the curiosity was how we could actually work with relatively cheap materials, aggregating them to a kind of point of excess that would produce effects that would be unprecedented and yet oddly familiar.
I will never, ever, ever forget Fluff. And Tides. They were spectacular.
Tides is a great
Tides.
example.
Oh my God.
And that was, using 110,000 ordinary bamboo skewers.
So all together, you are just...
Yeah, we're just complete control freaks
Yeah,
at that level.
God.
But I think there's control freaks that are about eliminating chance and curiosity and about
You're the
kind of
opposite
rigor.
of that.
We want to actually trigger pleasure in the unknown, but to do so rigorously.
So, welcome to Poster House.
This is amazing, you guys.
When we first came to the space, sort of see the barrel vaults, the brick walls, the kind of exposed architecture of the cast iron columns, and realized that we really wanted to take advantage of that, the sort of architectural equivalent of like a split screen condition in a film.
It is like a split, right.
The project really is just 2 intersecting lines, and they of course intersect at the door to the gallery.
One of the interesting challenges of this space is that the floor actually slopes.
Like this.
It slopes 2.5 feet from 23rd Street to 24th Street. It's a challenge from a constructional standpoint and a functional standpoint to deal with a continuously sloping floor.
Good thing you guys are optimists. Good thing you take every challenge and say, what can we do? I mean, you guys are hardcore architects, primarily doing interiors.
So I think for us, what's sort of critical about the interior is that it really is the kind of stage for human experience, for interaction, for the construction of community and collectivity.
So we've always felt that the inside was a site for design that needs to be played out at the highest level.
And a lot of the projects that we've taken on are public. They're accessible.
You've really changed the face of education. So we're going to go in a row. Just going to start naming the schools.
University of Wyoming.
Cornell University.
Claremont University Consortium.
NYU.
Vassar College.
Gallaudet University.
Helen Walton Early Childhood Education Center.
The College of Worcester.
Brown University.
Syracuse University.
Carnegie Mellon University.
Columbia University.
That's a lot. That is crazy. Okay, guys, this is a wowzer. You are in many historic buildings, right?
Right.
So that's a challenge
Right.
and an opportunity, right?
In order to acknowledge the kind of qualities of McKinney and White, we need to celebrate the characteristics that are important, the windows,
Right.
but to not somehow return it back to a period that it doesn't make sense anymore.
Right.
There are mechanical systems that we had to accommodate, and there was just a flat, low ceiling. So what we did was to tip up the edges of that ceiling, and you can see the kind of folded surface that opens up towards the windows. This sort of interchange between old and new actually make the projects much richer. So it's something we really try to celebrate.
Did you collectively say this is where we're heading?
We were already invested in education as teachers. There was an alignment between both our goals as educators and our interests as architects in the social dimension to play them together through focusing on university work.
Is there something that each one of you brings to the project?
I think Mark brings by far the best hand, the capacity to visualize the world through drawing. And Paul is the skeptical one who is always asking the question like, so what? Is this sufficient?
And then what does David bring to the table?
Well, nothing. No. So he's able to talk about us. That's what, that's his role. David brings a kind of greater technical curiosity to the table than either of us do bring. And David's very good at stepping back and kind of saying, all right, how do we do this? What are we doing? Why are we doing it?
Although obviously there are different skills and focuses and emphases that we bring to the table, we all really would want to be at that table engaging in the kind of design process as much as we can.
You dig way deep.
Yeah.
Like you go in and you work it.
One of the things that's consistent with all of our work is that we're less interested in perpetuating known models, way things have been done in the past. We're not conservative in that sense. We're curious about new directions.
What happens after it's done? What's the pleasure principle on this for you?
I would say that for me, the most delightful moment is walking into a project during construction. That's in some ways, for me, the moment in which the hopes and aspirations to the challenges and difficulties of any project gets subsumed by its possibility.
There is a kind of direct and immediate kind of contact that happens for me with kind of working through many forms of hand drawing.
When suddenly is like an aha moment. So the eureka moment that's both logical but also completely fantastic at the same time.
Architecture is the art that's perceived in a state of distraction. In other words, it's all around us all the time. So when we think about a door, well, what does that mean? And how can we actually rethink the door?
So LTL, are you most satisfied walking through the door?
Or walking out the door.
or walking into the door.
My name is Jonathan Brill. I am the president and founder of Infinity Drain. We are a manufacturer of architectural drainage solutions. We were founded in 2007. Generally, people think of drainage as something utilitarian, something you have to have and it gets put in without much thought. Sometimes we hear the comment, wow, I never really thought of the drain before, until we saw one that was beautiful. We do a lot of residential work. We also do a lot of commercial projects, some of the nicest properties in the world.
My name is Rakesh Ramkaran,
and I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at Infinity Drain. We have an excellent engineering and fabrication team that can help bring your exact specification to life. We have a quality control check at every station to ensure that we have the highest level of quality. One thing that we do differently here at Infinity Drain is that we listen to customer feedback. One important piece of feedback that we've gotten recently is that people need custom drains faster. So we've introduced our new next day custom program, which allows you to not only specify the length and outlet location of the drain, but also the finish. And we can turn that around next day.
All of this is manufactured in the United States. It's important to us that we feed back into our economy and we don't have any kind of supply chain issues. This is where it all comes together. Customer service, technical, engineering, production, finishing, packaging, and shipping. We're committed to U.S. stainless steel, product that is 90% recycled. We improved our lighting in this facility. We upgraded our roof. We are continually looking for ways to improve our carbon footprint. Our community is very important to us. One of our efforts is the Mission Bellyful program. This is a program where we prepare meals every day, 5 days a week. We work with various charities, shelters, sober living homes, where we donate pre-made meals. This year we'll donate over 12,000 meals.
Our goal here at Infinity Drain is to make drain selection and installation as seamless and as easy as possible.
We believe in continuous improvement. That's one of our core values and something that we think about every day. How can we get better and make your installation and your shower better?
Welcome to Design Talks Now, the Visionary Series, where we investigate current tones and creative approaches to today's most critical challenges through the lens of design. This visionary series on experience design features an elite group of design leaders commanding the field at its center while exploring the powerful potential of technology-infused design that creates transcendent, multidimensional moments. In 2020, Design Pavilion went virtual to keep the dialogue alive, and Design Talks Now was born. In person for the first time since 2019, Design Talks Now, the Visionary Series, was recorded at Neue House, New York City, in front of an intimate studio audience. Join us now for this deep dive into the magic of immersive design. Let's elevate human connectivity. Jamie Riley is producer and New York office director at Moment Factory, where they pioneer new forms of entertainment in shows and destinations that offer new experiences and inspire a sense of collective wonder and connection. Roger Ferris is head of creative and experience design at AT&T Discovery District, a new downtown destination in the heart of Dallas where tech, culture, and entertainment combine to encourage community gathering. Moderator Deborah Simon is president of Deborah Simon Art Consulting. An award-winning public arts curator and producer, Deborah has more than 30 years of experience in visual and performing arts programming for civic organizations and the real estate industry. She has created landmark projects for the Downtown Alliance and directed the Times Square Arts Program. She co-founded the River to River Festival and directed the arts program for Brookfield Properties in 4 major cities. And now, let's begin.
It's a little bit like the campfire in the sense that people have gathered since the beginning of time around campfires to tell stories and gather in communities. And now that fire has changed and the technology has changed and the stories have changed, but the basic human need has stayed the same.
We do it in public. It's in a way the through line to all the different types of work that we do across many different mediums.
The we is about the people, it's about the team, it's about all those people that are contributing to the project. So we is about a culture, it's about a way of thinking whereby everybody is working together as a team.
We value a variety of different inputs we take from everything around us.
We've been really lucky to have such an amazing variety of clients throughout the years, whether they're rock stars, cities, museums, brands, and this collaboration that we managed to create within these different projects taught us so much throughout the years, and we've really grown through our relationships with all these great people.
All the experience we design here take place in different environments, in different contexts, with different kind of public. It's really a great opportunity for creators to be able to each time have a different canvas.
The risk is an essential element, placing people in a state of being allowed to being wrong and make errors. It's gonna give them the confidence to really push the limits and try new stuff, and this is where innovation comes.
Pushing the boundaries of our work, doing magic, hijacking technologies, doing lots of R&Ds, trying to figure out how we can bridge between cool stuff happening in other industries, bringing them to our works.
I find the magic is the alchemy between how we deal with technology and how we customize technology to suit our own purposes.
We use interactivity and technology to bring people together in the same space and engaging with our content, with our story.
We live to experience. When we create experiences, we're creating a moment of people's lives.
How can I make the people feel the same amount of excitement in this moment that I'm feeling now while I'm creating it?
It's such an emotional feeling when you poured your heart and soul into a piece of work and then you have the crowd give that same level of magic back.
The emotion is at the core of all our projects, and I think that's what also defines us and differentiates us as well.
So it's the combination of all these things that we really care about. We think that this collaboration can create a new campfire, a digital campfire, and that it can foster communion and bringing people together in new ways that we can't even imagine today. And that's why we do it in public.
So now I would like to introduce this amazing panel. Jamie Riley is a producer and she's based in New York. Her expertise is in the strategic development of complex and immersive environments, responsible for working with the team, client, and other major stakeholders. She delivers compelling and cohesive experiences for diverse audiences. At Moment Factory, she is regarded for her visionary development of the Tomorrowland Festival franchise in the United States. Some of her recent work includes the development of AT&T's Discovery District in Dallas, which we'll be taking a deep dive into today, Super Real at 25 Broadway, and the transformation of Moynihan Train Hall in New York City. And we have Roger Ferris, who is the creative lead responsible for content development, run of show, and experience design for the AT&T Discovery District located at AT&T's global headquarters in downtown Dallas. As head of creative for the district, Roger's innovative vision has elevated the content and experience in the district to be one of the nation's most sophisticated, programmable public spaces. I'd like to have Jamie introduce us to Moment Factory.
Yes, thank you very much. Moment Factory is a multimedia studio, and what we do, and as you saw in our video, is really doing it in public. So bringing people together and using technology as a means to create these meaningful emotional connections. Moment Factory celebrated its 20th anniversary this year, so all things considered, for a multimedia company, probably makes us a dinosaur, I would think, or something of the equivalent. But when the company started 20 years ago, it was really in events. We were VJing when VJing wasn't a thing. And through parties and creating content, doing shows and events really became part of the DNA of the company. But around, or a little bit more than 10 years ago now, we really segued and started focusing on these long-term permanent installations. Might that be in transportation hubs, public spaces, and various environments where, you know, we were then needed to consider much more elements than just an event. So now Moment Factory is 400 employees, which I think is really a unique feature of Moment Factory, because we really have all of these services in-house, from obviously content creation, but interactive technologies. We have coders, developers, we have architects, we have scenic designers, we have lighting designers, sound designers. We have a large now even music studio where we can create our own soundscapes and music. Really fundamentally immersive experiences have always existed, and I think that's why as a company we always come back to that notion of the campfire, right? Because that in itself was an immersive experience. When often we think about immersive, and this is also something that's really part of the fabric of Moment Factory, is that you think of content, right? We're looking at these pictures, they're beautiful, the colors are amazing, and here it's projection mapping, so we're obviously utilizing the architecture of the space to create that content. But it's also about activating all of the senses, right? So we always think about the environment in which we're working in and that we're creating. Because essentially for something to be immersive, you need an environment and you need people, and you need to create an emotional connection between the two. For it to be immersive and to have that emotional connection, you need to have intention. Because without intention, it's just technology. That's part of the fundamentals and part of the human needs, which is why we believe in doing it in public. That desire and need to be connected collectively and individually to something.
Roger, tell us about the AT&T Discovery District.
Sure. The AT&T Discovery District is located in downtown Dallas. The global corporate headquarters underwent a major renovation over the last few years, and the Discovery District launched in fall of 2020. They decided to open up their entire corporate campus, including the ground floor of multiple buildings, including the HQ lobby, to the public and visitors to the city. And this has created a really powerful platform for engagement with the local community. We talk about the district as being a place where technology and culture and entertainment combine. It's one of the most sophisticated public programmable spaces in the country now. There is a 30-foot tall signature sculpture. We call this the Globe. Inside the Globe, there are 20 speakers, there's 6 LiDAR motion sensors, and there's 1,500 linear feet of LED. When you walk into the Globe senses you and it responds to you with colored lights and sound. One of the main things that's a part of this ecosystem is this 104-foot tall 6K media wall. That's the equivalent of your average 10-story building. In addition, as a part of this major renovation, AT&T created these 2-story trellis, which run the whole length of this large outdoor plaza. These trellis are lined with over 158,000 linear feet of individually addressable LED. There's also in this picture, you see these individual little twinkling lights around the Globe on the plaza on the ground plane. There's about 200 of these individually addressable lights that are a part of the district. When you look at the corporate headquarters lobby itself, the main lobby on the ground floor is open to the mezzanine level above it. And across the entire ceiling of the mezzanine level is this low resolution LED surface we call the veil. The veil also goes down both of the side walls all the way to the floor. When you look at the ground level, there's this large 60-foot wide, 15-foot tall, high definition LED media box. There's also 8 columns that run the entire length of the lobby, which are covered from top to bottom with high definition LED. So all of the media elements that are a part of this lobby, as well as all of the media elements that are throughout the plaza, are all connected together with one very powerful and sophisticated media playback system. About 5 years ago, before this renovation on the corporate global headquarters happened, there was a decision that needed to be made as to whether or not AT&T was going to stay in the downtown business district or if they were going to relocate their corporate headquarters to maybe the suburbs or somewhere else. And the decision was made that it was important to stay in the downtown area and to invest in the community and to actually allow this redevelopment project to be a catalyst for the development of downtown.
Right. Most of these things are generated by business improvement districts or, civic entities, municipal entities. So for you to have such a commitment to the growth of the CBD through entirely private means is really quite unusual and quite an astounding result. How did AT&T come to the decision to work with Moment Factory, and what role did they play?
In order to create this vision that you just heard me talk about, there's really 2 core competencies that AT&T needed in our partners. We needed a partner that could create some world-class creative, and we needed a partner who could build this very complex media ecosystem from scratch, from the ground up, and somebody who had a proven track record doing that. And so we started this process by actually looking at 2 separate vendors, one for each part of this equation. But we learned through the process, and we kind of came to realize that really the content creation itself was going to play such a pivotal role in how the media ecosystem got built out that we really needed to be finding a single partner who could be responsible for both parts of that deliverable. We actually had quite an extraordinary request for Moment Factory. Most of the time when partners approach Moment Factory, they're asking for 4 hours or maybe 6 hours of content. AT&T approached Moment Factory and said, we're on 24 hours a day. We're not going to be promoting advertising. We need a 24-hour run of show. Go make us 24 hours worth of content. Another thing that we did is we said, we want to continually grow this content library over time. We want other creative partners to be able to add to this library. So please, when you're making us this playback ecosystem, make it very open so other partners can add their content to this library without it being difficult. Because we don't want the district to be a place that's known for advertising, we wanted to take a very artful and ambient approach. I like to use the analogy of like a fireplace in a room makes that room a really pleasant place to be, and it totally affects the mood of that room. This huge 104-foot tall media wall can't not help but create the mood and the energy level for the plaza. One of the other things that we realized having a 24-hour run of show is that we needed different types of content. It couldn't all be one type. So you have transitions, you have show moments, you have pieces that just need to be really quiet. We have content for the day, we have content for night. All these different types of moments had to be really thoughtfully considered in the entire run of show and then delivered as a part of this 24 hours.
To Roger's point, 24 hours of content, you don't get a lot of requests, or it was certainly for Moment Factory the first time we had received a request to deliver this amount of content. And as Roger mentioned, we also did the system that operates all of the multimedia of the plaza. So we needed to build a system that could sustain that amount of content. You have to get to day one and it has to operate on day one. But more important than that, it's how does it live through time? And this is in both ways, either as much as the content as the system itself. So that's why we custom build a system that could not just ingest this 24 hours of content, but that they could continue to create content, might it be with Moment Factory or other partners, you want to continue to inspire, you want to continue to connect with your audience, right? So real time became an obvious solution, but it had never been done at that scale. So we partnered with Epic Games. Epic Games, for people who don't know, is a video game engine company. And we partnered with them, and we were able to really work on implementing the right solutions, creating specific code to allow us to be able to create this real-time content at a level that's never been done before. And from a creative perspective, it was a very big mandate, but it was also a pretty aggressive timeline. So the way we approached it was, obviously you have R&D that's informing what we can do and how we're going to do it, that's working in parallel track to the project team. So we really had an iterative process happening internally at Moment Factory instead of a waterfall process. But what we did is we built multiple creative leadership teams so that we had different creatives that would challenge each other, working with Roger to really push the boundaries of what was possible, not just with the system, not just with real time, but creatively would be really awe-inspiring in every single way it could be. So that's how we approached the project and allowing us to be able to deliver within the time frame.
I wanted to actually give you a couple examples of some of the real-time pieces that we've created together. This piece is called Connections, and it uses these like colored strands or filaments to make these really intimate and emotional pictures of like lovers embracing or children playing. So this is a single real-time capsule, but what's interesting is depending on where you put this on the timeline for the run of show, this capsule displays differently between day and night. This piece is another one. It's called Living Neighborhood. This piece actually speaks to AT&T's commitment to the environment and sustainability. The entire global corporate conference, by the way, is actually completely run on wind energy. So this piece imagines a future world where buildings are living and powered by wind and solar energy. So in addition to this piece changing its appearance from day to night, this piece changes throughout the seasons from spring to summer to fall to winter. Generative content, by definition, is content that evolves.
Yeah. So, you know, in simple terms, Pixar movie is pre-rendered. Generative content, which is also the same as real-time content, and the reason why it's called real-time content, it's that it's actually rendering in real time. It's an algorithm that's in the back end that is informing and either tapping into an API. An API can be any types of data forms.
Could be
right?
wind data from the city, from our
it can
plaza.
Be from the solar data. It can be it could be New York Times news if you wanted it to, right? So it's basically connecting the two and allowing it to evolve through time because it's rendering in real time.
I think the coolest piece we have today is a piece that Moment Factory created for us using real time called Night Voyager. Moment Factory wanted to use science to create art. So they actually partnered with a space plasma physicist who advised on this project, and they created a view of our solar system as seen through a radio telescope. And then they used NASA star maps and NASA data to create all of the planets and their moons, accurately placing them in our solar system in the right place, at the right scale, in their orbits. And then each night from midnight until 7 in the morning, you go on this journey through the solar system out into interstellar space. And out in interstellar space, you pass by the Voyager space probe, and then you turn around and you come back to Earth. So every single night, you're seeing a slightly different journey. I mean, there's literally nothing like this anywhere else in the world. And Moment Factory partnered with Epic Games, and Epic Games actually wrote them custom code just to pull this off.
You have 6,000 people who work at the headquarters who are there Monday to Friday, or at least in normal times they are. And so we wanted to ensure that they wouldn't get bored, right? Because otherwise AT&T would need to be producing content at a mass scale level that would be never ending. So this is where I think the real-time content becomes really interesting. The limitations historically with real-time content has always been about the quality of the content. So this is why we knew that if we were going to do something, we wanted to use the Unreal Engine, and that we needed to partner with Epic Games to figure out how we were going to develop this level of content at this scale. We were also very excited about embarking on this journey with AT&T and with Roger, right? Because we were like, wow, we can actually really push the boundaries, and we have a great opportunity to do so.
You're never really quite seeing the same piece twice. I mean, that piece Living Neighborhood, it changes across the seasons. It changes with the weather. It changes from day to night. And so the more pieces we have in our repertoire like that, it really adds to the relevancy of each piece in the moment being relevant to that moment and changing and being something new for people to discover.
AT&T and global architecture firm Gensler enlisted Moment Factory's creative and technical teams to reimagine the AT&T Discovery District in downtown Dallas. This one-of-a-kind plaza was redesigned to reflect the mood and energy of the community, with dynamic media architecture that leverages art, light, sound, and technology. A 104-foot media wall towers as the focal point of the district, providing a high-definition canvas for a variety of cinematic experiences. Behind the scenes, a custom-made technology platform centralizes the content management system and show controls, and connects the media wall with the LED-lined trellis and interactive globe. This innovative network empowers AT&T to activate individual elements or synchronize the full orchestration of video, content, light, and music to transform the plaza into a fully immersive digital ecosystem. Evolving over a 24-hour period, high-impact and ambient visualizations offer moments of collective enjoyment, relaxation, and exploration. Through a partnership with Epic Games, our teams were able to unlock the potential of the Unreal video game engine, opening up endless narrative portals for discovery. Wind and solar data powers a rendering of a vibrant neighborhood that inspires onlookers to imagine how natural energy can be used to transform cities. By approaching data as a storytelling tool, we can create generative multimedia content based on real-time inputs, fusing physical and digital worlds together. Blurring the boundary between real and unreal, the facade shifts into moving blocks, morphs into a colossal digital statue, and voyages through space on currents of solar wind data, creating ever-evolving content. In the evenings, a digital dance performance takes over the square, with sequences that explore the complex relationship between humans and technology. Each journey gives a subtle nod to AT&T's history and future. One district, endless discovery.
Did you want to discuss further how AT&T created a sense of immersion?
There's multiple ways that we've really tried to be very intentional. Something that's often overlooked because it's invisible is the sense of sound. Because we're in the central business district with all these skyscrapers all around us, when you walk through the city and you enter the threshold of the Discovery District, there's almost like a calm, kind of serene feeling. It might even be on a subconscious level, but it's because we've created these generative soundscapes of birds and water and wind chimes, and it just makes the district a relaxing place to be. Another thing that we did to create a sense of immersion is these 2-story trellis that are lined with all of this LED. They actually sample whatever colors you see on screen, whatever content is playing on screen. In real time, those colors are being washed out across the district and bathing the district in those colors of light. This piece is called the Digital Double. We plan to make more of these as we go along. This piece plays on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights at 9:30 in the evening, typically to a crowd. And this moment is special within all the pieces that we create because signature digital shows always take advantage of all the different media elements that are part of our platform and bring everything together to create this show moment. And then also we really like to take events in the district and try to push those to make them immersive. We just had a college football game this past weekend that's a pretty big rivalry in Texas. And so we took this football game and we actually created graphics so that in game, as touchdowns were made, we could slam these touchdown graphics down on the screen and see the word touchdown, shake the screen, and then whichever was the winning team, we bathed the district in that color team's light that night. So it's just, again, taking a moment and turning it into an experience. When we turn to the inside, this media-rich lobby was like literally made for immersive experiences. This is actually a scene from the last Aquaman movie. It's called Council of Kings. And you're immersed in this underwater Atlantean scene with giant blue whales swimming across the veil above your head, and sharks and manta rays and sea turtles and dolphins swimming all around you.
You know, when you think of it in hindsight, AT&T was ahead of its time, because now I'm sure there are many downtown areas that wish they had a Discovery District, even if it was half of what AT&T built, because it really is playing a catalyst role in bringing people downtown, in getting people outdoors, and again, in connecting together and for collective experiences in the safe environments, might it be indoors or outdoors. We at Moment Factory have always believed in the ROE, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard this, the return on emotion. We like to think and believe at Moment Factory that it's a little bit more than that. It's the return on emotion and engagement, yes, but it's also the return on entertainment, the return on education, the return on experience, right? And not focusing necessarily on the return on investment. I absolutely love this picture out of all of the pictures we looked at, because you're just seeing here how every single individual on this plaza is engaged with the screen. And that for me is just extremely powerful, because it will also keep them coming back. And I think, again, in the time, in the era, in the world we now live in, that is now more powerful than ever. And I do sincerely believe that AT&T was great visionaries in thinking of this and having this vision, which aligns very much with what we believe in. And I think the model of AT&T in the Discovery District proves how powerful the ROE can and is compared to the ROI, and looking at how does the investment return with revenue from advertising.
I wanted to add to this that with everything that we've made, each piece has been made with so much thought. And there's so much like conceptual relevance underneath the surface of each of these pieces. And so one of the things that we've actually done is we've created QR codes for these different pieces that play. We call it behind the screen. And any piece that you see playing on the media wall, you can engage with it. You can actually look on your phone and it gives you a little excerpt. We always try to make sure those excerpts are really punchy and worth the read, and that they tell you something really valuable about that piece that makes you appreciate it more.
What's next for the future of multimedia for public spaces and the Discovery District?
Without spilling the beans and talking about it too much, we actually have something that we're co-developing right now. I'm very excited to see this come to life. It's a real-time piece. Again, this is a piece that's really pushing the boundaries of what's even possible today. So it's a piece that's in the innovation lab at Moment Factory. And one of the pieces, a unique kind of tool, piece of content, is going to allow us in the future, using real time, to basically take the entire plaza and turn it into like this club atmosphere. It's going to be super cool.
Yes, I agree. But you'll have to come to Dallas to come and check it out in a few months, more or less. And for Moment Factory, like just briefly, like I think where we see a little bit the future going, there's just so many opportunities, right? Where we're just, I think multimedia is just now starting to become understood and known outside of gaming or entertainment, if you wish, and expanding into public spaces and so on. And as the canvas can become anything, then the possibilities become endless. We're focusing a lot on the possibilities of AR and really playing with the notions of the physical and the digital and where that line is. We're not just engaging with our audiences when they're physically experiencing one of our projects or content or so on, but how are you engaging with them in the pre-experience before they arrive and following post that arrival, right? And how are you keeping that momentum and that emotional connection going? Coming back to this incredible district that AT&T envisioned 5 years ago is just absolutely extraordinary. There's nothing like it in North America. And I certainly hope more and more public spaces, corporate environments will be inspired by what AT&T has done and will learn from it and open up their minds to the possibilities of how they can engage with either their employees, their clients, their visitors, their neighbors, and so on and so forth. And I certainly hope that if you haven't been to Dallas, that if you do make it, you will stop at the district because it's very well worth it. Great content.
This fall, we created cartoons on the lawn on Saturday mornings, and we had families coming out with their kids to watch cartoons on the lawn. We want to have movie nights in the future. You know, right now we have salsa lessons on the lawn. Also, a part of the Discovery District is a premier exercise club that's actually sponsored by the Dallas Cowboys. We're always trying to think about, like, what can we do to continue to engage the community in new ways?
Well, thank you both for this amazing presentation. Very thought-provoking.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. We hope to see you again soon for the next installment of the Visionary Series, an exploration in courage not to be missed. So please stay tuned.